If you've ever worked in an industrial setting, you know this story all too well. The maintenance team, they ask for a simple tool to make their lives easier. And the IT team delivers a system that, well, does the exact opposite. It's this classic, frustrating conflict that just burns time, money, and everyone's sanity. But what if it doesn't have to be this way? We're going to break down how you can turn that constant frustration into a seriously powerful partnership.
And this image, it just perfectly captures the heart of the problem, doesn't it? Over on one side, you've got maintenance operations. These are the folks who are actually turning the wrenches. They know exactly what information they need to do their jobs. And on the other side, IT infrastructure, the guardians of the systems, the data, the security. And that flimsy little plank in the middle? Yeah, that's the shared vision that feels like it's about to snap at any second. Our goal today is to turn that rickety plank into a 6-lane superhighway.
All right, so before we can start building that bridge, we have to understand why that massive chasm is even there in the first place. Let's really dig into this disconnect and see why even the best maintenance strategies can completely fall apart when the tech just doesn't line up with the reality of the work.
Seriously, I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever seen a brand new, shiny system get rolled out only to watch everyone sneak back to their old spreadsheets a few months later? Or have you ever been in a meeting where a manager looks at an official dashboard and then asks, okay, but can someone get me the real numbers? If you are nodding your head right now, you have lived this disconnect. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Now, what's so powerful about this is how it shows the domino effect. It all starts with untrusted data. And of course, that leads to useless reports. So then people have to invent all these clunky, broken workflows just to get through the day. Pretty soon the system itself becomes a productivity blocker. And where does all of this end? You guessed it, the infamous shadow spreadsheet. You know, the one tucked away on somebody's desktop that holds the actual truth.
And this is the absolute key right here. At its heart, this isn't a technology problem. It's a trust problem. When the people on the floor, the ones actually doing the work, don't trust the data in the system, that system has already failed. It doesn't matter how much it costs or how fancy the interface is. Without trust, the entire investment is just wasted.
Okay, so that's the problem. How in the world do we fix it? Well, the solution starts with one single fundamental step. We have to define ownership. Seriously, getting this one thing right from the very beginning eliminates most of the friction we've been talking about. And here it is. This might be the single most important concept we're going to cover. It's simple. Maintenance owns the process. They are the ones who decide what data a technician needs to see on their tablet to fix a pump. Meanwhile, IT owns the infrastructure. They're the ones who decide how that data gets from the server to that tablet safely and securely. So maintenance defines the why, and IT delivers the how. Here's a super simple rule of thumb you can literally take into your next meeting. Is the discussion about a business decision like, what information do we need to properly prioritize our work orders? Maintenance leads that conversation. Is the conversation about how do we make sure that information is secure and backed up properly? That's an IT-led topic. Now, most of the time you need both teams in the room, but this makes it crystal clear who gets the final say on what.
Okay, so now that we know who's in charge of what, it's time to actually make a plan. See, once ownership is clear, you absolutely need a blueprint. Just think about it for a second. You would never walk up to a mechanic and just say, hey, build me a truck, without telling them what you're hauling or where you're driving, right? Well, building an information system is exactly the same.
And here's the key. This blueprint is maintenance's job to create before IT even starts coding. Why? Because only maintenance truly understands the real-world operational needs. This blueprint has to clearly define 3 critical areas. First, the organization. Who are we and how do we make decisions? Second, the work process. What do we actually do and how does information flow? And third, the regulations. What are the rules that we absolutely have to follow? No exceptions.
So let's break that down a bit. Part 1, the organization, is all about context. What's our strategy? Are we trying to get maximum uptime, or are we focused on minimum cost? Because guess what? Those require 2 totally different system designs. And who's using this information? A supervisor needs a daily what's late list, but a director wants a monthly KPI summary. You have to define all of this up front.
Part 2 is all about mapping reality. And I mean reality. Forget the perfect world workflow diagram on the wall. How does work actually get done out on the floor? You have to map out those critical data flows, and you have to get input from the technicians and planners who are in the system every single day. Because if they hate the mobile screen you design, they're going to enter garbage, and your fancy dashboard becomes pure fiction. It's as simple as that.
And finally, part 3, compliance. This can never, ever be an afterthought.
You have to define what counts as proof for an auditor. Is it a digital timestamp, a photo, a signed checklist, before you build the system? Trying to bolt this stuff on after an incident has already happened is just, well, it's a recipe for total failure.
So you've got the blueprint, you've built the system together, you're all done, right? Nope, not even close. The goal here isn't a one-and-done project. It's about building a sustainable, long-term capability for managing your maintenance information.
Oh man, this slide is a huge aha moment for a lot of people. A working system, that's just the bare minimum. The server's on, you can log in, data goes in, great. But a valuable system, that's a system where the information coming out of it actually changes what people do. It drives better decisions around cost, around risk, around reliability. If your system isn't doing that, it's not actually delivering value.
So how do you build that valuable, sustainable capability? Well, it all rests on these three interconnected pillars. First, you've got the systems themselves, designed from the ground up to drive decisions. Second, you need the people, with crystal clear ownership of the data. And finally, the stakeholders. Because look, if the system isn't serving its customers, from the person on the shop floor all the way up to the finance department, it will eventually fail. When you put all of these pieces together, it creates a fundamental shift in how these teams operate. You're really moving away from those frustrating silos and clunky handoffs, and you're moving towards genuine synergy.
And here it is, the payoff.
Remember those two cliffs separated by that huge chasm? This is what success looks like. It's not a rickety plank anymore. It's a robust, multi-lane bridge. Information and requirements are flowing smoothly in both directions. Maintenance and IT aren't fighting anymore. They're working together, building and maintaining this incredibly valuable shared asset. And you know, just like any bridge, this partnership needs maintenance. You have to keep it strong by communicating clearly and constantly. You reinforce it by defining requirements early with that blueprint we talked about. You make it flexible enough to handle changes in the business. You protect it with smart cybersecurity. And maybe most important of all, you support the people who use it every single day with fantastic training. You know, when you boil it all down, it really comes down to this one powerful shift in mindset. You have to get away from saying, IT gave us a system. Instead, you need to be able to say, maintenance and IT designed a solution together. That right there is the difference between being a passive user and an active owner. And that is the change that creates real bottom-line business value. This disconnect between maintenance and IT, it can feel like a law of nature. But it's not. It's a problem of design. And it absolutely can be solved. It all starts with clear ownership, a collaborative blueprint, and a real commitment to partnership. So now it's your turn. Go start building your bridge.